Welcome to another episode of The Bird Herd, sponsored by Redbird Esports. This week is going to be episode 19, and I am joined by, Cameron, Nausicaa, Maine. How you doing, bud?
Good, thank you. Very nice intro. I love the little deep voice going into the start of the podcast.
Dude,
But
I do it all the time. I change my voice a lot for different situations between work and stuff like this. And man, I'm
yeah,
doing it.
I mean, as well as like when you're doing such a long form podcast and you're talking for hours straight, got to keep it slow and steady. Don't want to burn out. It's like having a bad karaoke night.
Oh God, yeah.
Wake
I
up
was
the
thinking
next
about that too.
morning.
Or it's a 10-hour cast day. Oh no, I've had those. Those I cry at when I have to do those, but I get paid a lot when I do that, so I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna do it unless I'm gonna get paid. But yeah, no, it's finally good to have you. I know Max is taking his sweet time to join us whenever he's going to join us, but that's fine. Yeah, so it's finally good to get you on here. I know we've kind of petitioned it, to get more of the varsity members of the League of Legends team on here and everything. So
Mhm.
it's good to have you. So of course we always do this. It's we already know what your name is. So what's your year in school? The how was it year? Let's do it. Year in school. What you're studying, and we'll do what's your like favorite hobby or favorite thing to do.
So yeah, I'm a freshman currently at ISU, but I'm not that young. I'm like about 23 years old. So I've had been to uni in Australia. So ISU isn't really my college straight out of high school, but definitely still a freshman here with the undecided major, just kind of seeing what happens. Mainly focusing on the League of Legends side at the moment. Favorite hobby? That's a hard one. Well, outside of maybe playing League of Legends or like playing video games, so that's definitely a good pastime. Probably have to be something between like walking or reading. I think I'd prefer either one of those two. Both are very relaxing, especially with my main focus being League. It gets a bit stressful to say the least, especially if you come from like a bad loss streak and solo queue. It can get really frustrating really quick. And or you just had like a really bad loss in a tournament if you were expected to go to finals and then you get knocked out of quarters and you're like, crap, this sucks. And yeah, so it's probably one of those relaxing things with like walking and reading. Those are definitely my two favorite pastimes.
I totally understand the whole walking thing and the stress, man. Like my job can get real stressful doing insurance a lot of the time, and I most people know who I work for, so I'm not gonna say it. I work for a bigger company doing sales for them between two agents, and yeah, between all the claims we've had this year, still people trying to do stuff from the last 2 years because we've had hailstorms, and different stuff with ice damming and stuff like that. Yeah, like they stress us out because people aren't getting vaccinated. I'm like, well, like, what do you expect me to do? I'm like, I've already called, and they're not responding. So I mean, I've done my due diligence now. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, try to meet your quota and all that stuff and everything. Yeah, it gets stressful, believe me. That's why and I'm also training like two people right now between both the
Mhm.
offices. So yeah, I get that, and especially league with solo queue. There's probably a reason why I don't play solo queue as much anymore. And honestly, I think it's just because I just don't care anymore. Honestly, like my rank, I know is around that silver to gold, and it's fine. And I'll grind it out like in the later half season. So like right around now, I'll start grinding it, and enjoy it that little bit, and that's pretty much it. And then once I hit that gold, the like higher silver, maybe lower gold tier, I just stop then because there's no reason to keep going on. Like I'm not trying to get to be on a team or anything like that. Or I know you kind of have to because you're on a team. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely solo queue is just really painful if you're playing it not to have fun, if that makes any sense. Like obviously for like a lot of people, if they just stop having fun with League of Legends, they just stop playing the game. But it's definitely something that I feel like I've also personally struggled with as well because it's League definitely goes through these moments where I think League most of the time does an okay job of keeping the game like interesting and making you want to play. But like a lot of their champions that they're releasing seem to just getting like I really liked their releases with like Set. I really liked as a champion, and then Senna, I also really like, but she's really unbalanced as well. And like a lot of these champions are just adding new mechanics. Like I think Gwen, like that's been recently added, is just so unbelievably broken. But like you remember the champions of the past when they added like Zaya Rakan, and like yeah, they were strong champions, but they weren't just unbelievably unfair broken. Like it feels like they're one upping the champions every time. It's like when like if you stand in a W, like it completely negates Carp Assault on everyone. Like that is so broken. Usually, if you think of from like a support point of view, the best way you would stop your teammates from getting hit by Carpet Salty is you would go lock it, or you'd pick like Tarek and Bard, and you would use your ult specifically for them. Which, if you are, most of the time you're just going to lose the team fight because you want to use those ults at the start of the team fight or whatnot, or during the team fight, not really just to counteract one ult. So, like, they're a lot of the new stuff they're adding doesn't really make the game as enjoyable as it was, I think, because it felt like every season I was really excited to play the game. But this season, I mean, I still enjoyed playing, and I probably wouldn't be here playing the game if I didn't think I enjoyed it. But I definitely see like the overall criticism that people have over League of Legends in general, where it's starting to lose its audience a bit more slowly and slowly, just because these new champions, the metas being a bit boring recently with just like chem tank junglers all the time. So, I mean,
Yeah, chem tank jugglers, you got, and they're always taking phase rush half the time. I mean, obviously we've seen your teammates post where he asks about all that stuff and everything with the top. What's it? If you introduce the game to like one of your friends, like would you? And then we're like, I was literally thinking the same thing when Jack posted it, and he's like, I would not, because of the two current jugglers that are just like so good with Chem Tank and Phase Rush and just kind of dominate the game. And I'm like, yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you could just ban them, but it's also like, yeah, like what? Like I'd rather just not have to waste bans on that either. I feel like in the same process, like it's like I know how your coach, which by the way I know I haven't stated. So yeah, your League of Legends, the Varsity's support, and everything like that. And obviously, you've mentioned a lot of support champions when you were talking about it. So obviously, our League of Legends people will know. But for those that don't, yeah, he's definitely one of our really good supports right now that I've seen. No disrespect to Tempos, but Tempos was pretty good. And obviously he got on an amateur team and it was great and everything like that. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see how you kind of get going and everything like that. I feel like this is like a good stepping stone by jumping to a college like over here. And since, unfortunately OCE doesn't exist anymore for League, it's definitely interesting to have you over here and everything
yeah,
like that.
thanks.
So
Actually, now that you mention OC, if you wouldn't mind, I wouldn't actually mind talking a bit about OC as a region because as I see it, there's a lot of people that have misconceptions about OC as a region, and I see just some astronomical takes being taken by like some of the people in the community. Like I don't know if you kept up to date with some of the drama that happened in the league scene, but I Will Dominate ran like a face check thing, like the face check podcast, and he started like trash talking OC players, saying like or like OC coaches that were on the team of Golden Guardians because it was a team that was underperforming or like it was just coming dead last. And he said it was like a coaching problem and that the OC coaches were bad and nepotism, stuff like that. And he had some like ridiculous statements because he was like in OCE. He thinks he like really knows the region. So everybody really trusts his opinion on it when he's like really wrong about it. And then I also heard like Alorum had like a really bad take where it was like a lot of the OC players were like forced to come here, or like the orgs were like forced to accept the players because the region blew up and stuff like that. So I want to clear some things out because a lot of the time they talk about OCE as a league because they did create a new league, right, for OCE, which was LCO. And that has been okay from the outside. But I think a lot of people, they see the LCO is a League of Legends league that is in a first world country. So like if you're thinking of a country that probably isn't like the best financial state, like Turkmenistan probably doesn't have the best funding for a League of Legends league. But if you think of a country like Australia, New Zealand, like on paper, they're pretty successful, wealthy nations. They're part of the Commonwealth. You think, oh yeah, these guys will definitely like have like a lot of money in their league. But I think the reality is that from someone that had played in the league, OPL or LCO, for unless you were like the really top players. So I'm assuming right now PGG are getting paid a decent amount to obviously go to MSI, and I think Peace as well, which were the two top teams in the league. But for a lot of players, they're not really earning that much from players that are playing in NA Amateur. And the scene isn't really taken as seriously in Australia as it is in America. And there's a lot less opportunities. There's no really like good developmental coaches. Like there's good coaches that can get you to learn how to play the game, but a lot of the coaches that will teach you like in-depth macro and micro, or just like laning, how you should be able to lane and your matchups and stuff like this, a lot of them have already been imported or gave up playing League of Legends because the pay was becoming so little. So there wasn't many resources in League of Legends in Australia at all. So really the only option in the end was, you know, the end game was you go on like a top tier team, right? You slog it out for as many years as it takes on like a bottom tier team, and you make your way up and you keep trying to improve as hard as you can, usually by yourself, because the level of coaching in OCE is pretty poor, especially like compared to regions like North America. Like a lot of these like LCS brand coaches with all these like accolades, like people really want to have coaches like that in Australia, but we really don't. So a lot of the improvements based on the players, I think like apart from like last year, I could say like the top 4 or 5 teams had like really good coaches, but then a lot of those coaches the next year, well, they just got imported. So we lost all the good talent, players and coaches. So it's just like we're even more pigeonholed. So really your only way of making it as a pro player in OCE was to go to North America. And so that's the end goal. And that is really hard for a lot of people because, first of all, you have to know people in North America, which I didn't. I was very lucky. You have to usually win your league pretty convincingly and go to MSI or Worlds and have a good performance there, which like most of the Mammoth players from 2019 and Legacy players from 2020 ended up on teams in North America, the split after they went to Worlds. So like obviously the whole 5-man team of Legacy are all on LCS teams or academy teams. And then also from Mammoth last year, pretty much all the players except Babbitt, but now Babbitt's back in NA because he won on Legacy last year. So I didn't win NA. I didn't win OCE at all. So I wasn't, you know, in a good position to find myself in an NA spot. But when the league was blown up and the OPL was blown up, obviously it was really depressing at the time because it had been this thing that had lasted so long and a lot of people cared about it. It was their jobs, their careers, their futures were on the line of this. Like a lot of people delayed completing their uni degrees to try and fulfill this dream to go to like, to do their best they could at OCE to go to NA because you can't have a feasible career in Australia anymore as a pro gamer. It's just not possible. So when the silver lining and all that was finally OCE minorities, well, I wouldn't really say minorities, minor region players could go to America, which was huge because that was the end goal anyway. So we wanted to make as many opportunities as possible. So obviously that made it viable for Australian players to be a part of collegiate teams. And originally I wasn't really going to participate in the Maryville trials, but then I heard for some reason that they had like a lack of supports. So I decided to like just come in. I was like, hey, I'm like a former OPL support, played OCS for ages, you know, I'll play some of the trials. And I played pretty well in some of the games and then like okay in the others. Like I hadn't played League of Legends in about a month at that point because the season had ended like ages ago and I was really just focusing on uni at the time. You know how it is at like the end of the semester, like you really got to focus. So I was pretty unpracticed. But anyway, I was really surprised that I got a message from Peter asking me to join ISU for 2021 because that was not anything I was really expecting. Like I didn't expect anything from the Maryville trials. And so it became suddenly like being a pro player became much more of a reality at that point because you can't really be a pro player in OCE. And I only wanted that little tangent just to link this to people in the future to roughly explain why OCE is just a pigeonhole. Like you just, if you are stuck in OCE, you cannot be a pro player for longer than 3 to 4 years. You'll have to find some other way to make money because you will not be able to have an actual career as a pro player. The only way you'll have a career as a pro player or a coach from, and you want to last like 5 years, 10 years, etc., longer, even so, you got to start going overseas. I think the only real people that are starting to make their careers work in Australia, even with all the barriers of entry to having a proper career, are PGG and Peace and those players. But a lot of those players, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year or the middle of the year that they just start getting transported to academy teams because it's very realistic and it's going to lengthen their career. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to say on the OCE thing.
Oh no, I totally understand it. I think the big thing too for me is like I want to see more of you guys be able to come over here or to be imported into another scene just because I felt really bad for you guys because of the fact that everything kind of blew up with it and I was just like what the heck. I was like there's no reason that I really felt like you guys should have been in that situation, but again I understand because it's also they're kind of looking from different aspects. I'm like, all right, I get it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Boys, I am so sorry.
Oh,
all good.
All through the Discord troubles, everything's going wrong today.
Yeah, is your Discord not working as well?
No.
Yeah, Discord is down.
Oh, not a fan of that.
Oh, that's weird because mine's totally fine still right now. I was still messaging him the whole time while we were talking.
You sent me the link to the Zoom over Discord. I was like, okay, well, I'll figure it out.
Well, how else am I supposed to get it to you? You don't give me your cell phone, so I can text it to you.
I emailed it to myself. I was like, whatever, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't have all your other stuff. So.
Why don't you have my email?
Why would I? Anyways, to quickly recap for you, obviously you know who he is. He is your neighbor. He's your neighbor.
Yeah.
He mentioned earlier, of course, he's a freshman. He's undecided, and I guess obviously we did what I think food and I forget what you said last week for like the other thing. I did hobby with him. So outside of gaming. So outside of gaming, he was saying he likes walking and reading because walking obviously helps with the stress and all that. And yeah, I agree. I mean that's like totally I do the same thing. I probably should walk more, to be honest. I probably should walk in the morning and at night when I get back.
Oh yeah, I actually see Cameron walking all the time, and like I do get a little jealous sometimes because I do not walk. I am a driving man, and I'll just be like sitting here doing homework, and I can perfectly like see the street, and I'll see you stride on across. I'm like, good for him.
Yeah.
Man has got his walking shoes on. He is good to go.
Yeah, I mean it's not too long of a walk as well. To ISU, it's like only like 1.5 or 2 Ks from here, so it ends up being quite a nice walk there, where you can really like gather your thoughts before like an upcoming match, and then either wallow in defeat or just be exhilarated in victory on the way back home, whatever the result is.
Yeah, you're a tall guy too. You could, I feel like you could make some real quick strides there on the walk.
That's true.
I actually like had definitely seen, like I was out walking too, and like we were at the same intersection, and you were so much quicker than I was. I was like, not going that fast.
Honestly, I probably started enjoying walking a lot more. Probably once I hit like 18, since I just had like freedom to do whatever I want. But also just becoming taller. Because I remember when I was like little, like walking was such a pain because it was just like, something that would be just up the road would take like 10 minutes more than it would nowadays.
Oh, yeah. No, I was not blessed with heights. My short little legs, I'm 2 times, the strides that you're doing to get the same place. It is what it is. But I'll actually agree with you. I think the walk from where we live to ISU is like, it's a breeze. It's a good, nice little walk to get there to, if you like want to get breakfast, get dinner, something like that.
Yeah,
Collect your thoughts, like you
definitely.
said. Do you guys cover how long he's been playing League of Legends?
No, we haven't gotten there yet. He talked about, well, because obviously he's a import from Australia and everything to
Right.
OCE. He talks about kind of how OCE kind of happened with everything there, why a lot of people kind of gravitate over here now because of the fact that, yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean,
There's also a lot of misconceptions going around, and
exactly.
a lot of like hate on OCE players for like no reason.
Oh, I
Like,
don't hate you guys at all. I think you guys are perfect. Like I said,
uh,
I want you guys over here more because, and I complained about that actually. I think over before OCE kind of blew up, I complained that I'm like, why don't we get like OCE imports anywhere else? They always say, oh, they're bad. I'm like, no, they're not. I'm like, you give them time, worst case scenario, or you give them the right coach, and they'll learn a lot and perform. I mean, it's not like you couldn't perform already. It's just you need a team and everything else in a division that
hmm.
can kind of help you out with that in that case and get you there. Obviously, I mean, you perform well. I mean, we could definitely talk about that and everything. So I know one of the other things I was going to say is we talked about how you're on the team and everything. So how do you like being on a team? How does that compare to being over kind of with the teams that you've played with before? How do you like it now?
I definitely like having everyone in person in the team. So being able to like every time we have like scrims or a match, we will go to the vault and play our games there. I think that's really good for a positive team environment so you can see everyone because eventually after a certain amount of time where you're behind the screen, and I've been on teams like this, like at the academy teams, because they don't get gaming houses in Australia, you'll just be talking through a screen, and a lot of that you'll just hear a lot of like unfiltered and emotional responses. But a lot of people are less likely to be like oh, like they'll have some like really emotional response, and they'll just randomly attack a player on a point that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the game. And then like an argument, like a useless argument will break out, and then the whole like trust and team environment in the team will just go downhill. Can't think of the right word, but it just ain't good. So I definitely, if I was going to compare it from other teams I've had in the past, I think I'm really happy with the players that I was able to get on coming to collegiate. Because I was thinking coming to collegiate, I'll be playing with a bunch of people that really haven't played for the first time. So, there would be a lot of responsibilities on me to do something with the team. But I feel like coming here and actually playing with the team, I've definitely felt like they've really worked hard on like their issues and problems and trying to become a better team. And I think the level of gameplay when I got here was like fine. I think it would have been, I was expecting like a lot worse, but it's not like I was saying like, oh my God, like we're just going to win everything. Like I didn't think that when I joined the team, but I was definitely happy that, I wasn't just like on a team. Like I was kind of expecting I was just going to have a team like Diamond Twos, and I was just like, oh no, I really got to make something work here. But it seems like pretty much everyone on the team really wants to win, wants to improve. Even if they have like player flaws or gameplay flaws, like I'm really am enjoying playing with them. It's probably one of my more enjoyable teams I've been on.
Yeah, and it's a good thing though, is because I obviously as you talked about the winning. I mean, I'll plug it real quick. I mean, you guys just won UPL recently, which is the Upsurge Premier League, which is basically Grandmaster up, right? Or is it just Challenger straight across the board? Can't remember that.
Yeah, well, it was Revival, and that was like the team that beat Supernova, and both of those teams were in contention for like proving grounds, like at the very end. So yeah, beating that team was definitely a good boost to our morale, and it was a really big statement, especially because for me coming over here means a lot for me, just because it's like it's the first in my family to really get a scholarship to an American university. Like that's just the first in our family. So I took that with big stride, and then I was one of the first Australian players to come over here under a collegiate program, which I hope I'm the first of many more to come. And so having this kind of like first once in a lifetime opportunity, I really don't want to waste it. So it feels really good that all the work that we put in and all the work that I feel like I put in, whether it's like solo queue, watching VODs, helping the team improve, pointing out mistakes, just creating a positive environment with the team, it all actually mattered in the end, and we're actually able to win something meaningful. Because it's all good and fun when you can like win your way up, but it means a lot more if you make it to the finals and you win the finals. Like you're not just beating some teams, you are the team to beat. You know, that's a good feeling. And even if it is, you know, just like people just say like, oh, it's just NA amateur, like no, it's just UPL. I think that's like kind of disrespecting, you know, the work that we all put into it to win it, because we could have easily have just not put in the work and not won it at all, you know? So I'm pretty happy with the UPL win.
All right, yeah, I got a question for you here, and this is kind of looking towards the podcast was my biggest question that I was going to have for you. Was there a moment when you first got here that was just a huge culture shock to you? Was there like one thing specific that you were like, wow, these Americans are very weird?
Yeah, I'm actually somewhat surprised. I mean, the first month I was here, I think my body was just really confused because I was so confused walking down the streets, and I was like, what is wrong with all these houses? And I'm like, wait, like none of these houses have fences. Like in Australia, every house just has a fence, whether it's high or small, whatever it is, like thick or short, thin, tall, we have a fence that is around your house. And in America, there's no fences. So I was looking around and I was just so confused. And of course, like everybody's driving on a different side of the road.
Yeah.
So, but I think other than that, Australia is quite similar to America, even though like we're pretty far away. A lot of Australians or Australian historians say that from like when America helped us in World War II on the Japanese front, back in like 1941 and 42, which was pretty good for us. We ended up having a lot of Americans come in, and then more and more Americans come in, and we had a lot of American influence with like one of the main American allies. Like I think we both fought in the Korean and Vietnam War. Like we've pretty much been in almost all the wars with America. So Australia has become very Americanized, which is a positive or negative term, whichever way you want to see it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like the culture is very similar, but I think the people are very different. And I think one thing I noticed is that the people in America, I think, are overall nicer than Australia. You know, obviously it's not like a diss to Australians, but I think a lot of Australians, you know, we kind of keep to ourselves. Like we're probably in that facet, we're a bit more British than American when it comes to like person to person interactions.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really deep in the countryside. But I think, you know, no matter what country you're in, like people are always more friendlier in the countryside than, you know, in the cities. But I definitely think overall Americans are like nicer. They're, you know, they'll just randomly walk up to you, want to have a conversation. They'll say nice things about you. It's very pleasant. But then on the back end, like you have those really nice people. But I think like when you get those like really weird wacko people, I feel like those are just more extreme here than they were in Australia.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, my friend. I definitely had to envision for you that was a kind of a different aspect in terms of different social life. And even I was talking to Jack, and he was telling me about, you know, when you had first got here and trying to find your apartment and stuff like that. And, you know, this complex does not at all help. I know that it doesn't. Because the numbering system is awful, and I know that.
Yeah, I think we knocked on every single door until eventually we found my door, which I think was like the last one we had to check.
Yeah, he told me that, and I definitely understand where you're coming from there, because it's
like
not
the cold of night. I had this. I'm not sure how if you knew this, but obviously you probably know that Australian borders are closed, but it's very hard to get anywhere internationally. So obviously on top of the visa, you have to get approved from the Australian government that you're leaving the country. and you're not leaving the country just for a vacation. Like it has to be for something very specific. So for me, it was coming over under here under a scholarship. So I told them that and they let me go. They approved me leaving the country, but it was going to be for an extended period of time. Like I can't be here for 1 month and then come back to Australia, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was done. But what happened is our original plan, or my original plan, was to fly from Melbourne to Sydney, which is about a 1 hour flight. It's pretty close to each other. And then Sydney to San Francisco. And then from San Francisco, I would fly from San Francisco to Chicago. And then Chicago, I would take the bus down to Normal, which was going to be a long trip.
Yeah.
But that was 26 or 24 hours total. So it was going to be a whole day trip, which, you know what, it's America is a really hard place to get to, like this specific town from Australia. So you know what, if it takes the time, it takes the time.
Yeah.
But what happened is in Australia, we don't really have coronavirus. So when there's cases that start influxing, all the state borders, they close. So NSW, the state that had Sydney in it, they got a random influx of cases. I think it went up to like 50 or so COVID cases at one point, or like 20. I'm not sure, but pretty much everybody was shutting everything down. Like we were just making sure it doesn't start up again. The borders were closed and you could no longer fly from Melbourne to Sydney. And so I was like, oh no, I have a flight in 2 days that I'm meant to fly from Melbourne to Sydney, and I can't get to Sydney to catch my actual flight. So we had to thought of all these different ways I could get to Sydney. And one of the most important things was that I had to make a wedding on the 9th of January, because that was like my best friend's wedding. And I was pretty much just, what really happened is I went to the wedding, and straight after the wedding, my mum picked me up, dropped me up at the airport, and flew to America. So we thought of all these different options, and like none of them fit. We thought about like flying all the way out to Brisbane, which is in like the top portion of Australia, up in Queensland. And then for Brisbane, go down to Sydney, because some of the flights are still open there. Luckily, we didn't choose that option, because then Brisbane started getting an influx of cases, and that border got closed from Melbourne. So what we ended up going with is I would fly all the way from Melbourne to Abu Dhabi or Dubai. It was like one of those two, one of those Middle Eastern like layover airports. And from that place, I would go from the Middle East all the way around to Dallas. And from Dallas, I would take a direct flight to the airport here in Normal, or Bloomington, sorry. And that was 46 to 48 hours total of travel time.
Oh,
my friend, you saw the world, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I got some good photos. Like, the way we went was we flew through Russia and up to the North Pole.
Oh, wow.
And then from down there, we went from the North Pole down through Canada towards Dallas, instead of just going across the Atlantic Ocean, which makes sense from a pilot's perspective, because if you're considering emergency landings and weather, you want to stay above land as much as possible. So I think that was that was like a very long trip, and I was coming to terms with it. And I was like, whatever happens, like I know it's going to be a rough trip for me, and I'm going to be pretty grumpy at the end, but it gets me there, and I can always say I've been on like the longest trip like possible from Australia. Like there's almost no way. I think the only way to make that trip longer is if I legit go from Australia to New Zealand, but take a whole, like the whole way around the globe again. Like I would have to go like New Zealand, Hawaii, Japan. Like I just have to do like a full loop at that point to beat the travel time that I have, of the travel time record. So
yeah, you have more patience than I do. I think after hour 4 of the flight, I'd probably lose my mind.
I was also pretty excited coming. I did come to the realization when I'm traveling, I don't care much at all about flying there, because I'm so excited flying to the place. It's always flying home that are the longest and flights that I hate the most, because like it just feels like there's nothing interesting going on back home, unless I'm probably by the end of this year, I'll probably love to be going back home and see all my family and friends. But, most of the time, it's definitely flying towards there is not an issue for me.
I literally the entire time, if it was, if I were you, I'd probably be telling people, like anybody that was sitting next to me, like I'm going to play League of Legends. Like I'm going to play League of Legends in North America and it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like it still blows my mind that we were able to get you and you are over here now playing collegiate League of Legends. Like it gets me excited to see, the future of esports. And like you had said, you're pretty much the first one to come over and do something like this from OC. And like, I think that, getting more people like that it's just going to be sick to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I think there's definitely some talented people from OCE that I think probably won't make it into academy, but I think would actually do well in a collegiate system. It's very hard to really decide where an OCE player should fit, but I think a lot of the players on what's one called Peace and PGG, specifically Peace's bot lane, and then I think Pabu and Biopanther specifically will probably do well in academy in NA and probably shouldn't go to collegiate or NA amateur. And I think a lot of the other players that I did mention on Peace and PGG also would be okay going to academy, but I don't think they would excel as much as those. I think all the players below them, though, all the other teams of players, if they go to collegiate, they'll have like, I could imagine them having like a really good showing or like having really good performances and adding a lot more to the scene. And there's so many like there's a couple of like OC players that I think aren't even in the league that have like potential to do something. So it is really exciting. And going back to like talking to people and saying like, oh, I'm going to North America. I remember mentioning it to my friends and family. Obviously, they were like super excited to hear I got this opportunity. But when I was just telling like my local GP and like the cafe that I usually go to, I was like, I was just getting my rib checked out because I had a fractured rib to see if everything was starting to heal. And I mentioned, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to North America, so I won't see you for a while. I was like, oh man, good job. And then having to like pause my my gym subscription. Usually a lot of people like to bag on gyms, but the person that runs my gym was like really understanding and really, like he said, if we need to pause it longer, we'll pause it longer. But I've also been at that gym for ages, so I can understand the loyalty on both sides.
Oh yeah, I think it's really important to have that kind of connection too. Just by looking at me once, you would know that I do not have that connection with anybody at a gym. I know that that's important, and like I've seen that relationship firsthand, and like it would be pretty sick. But I don't know. I think I'll just stick to my walks.
Yeah, I mean, each to their own, really. Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty bad as well for exercise. Well, because I haven't really been able to do strength training that much, which has been my main form of exercise for like years now, like since 2018. I've had a fractured rib, which made weight training quite difficult.
Oh yeah.
And I've pretty much like focused on trying to heal it as much as possible. But that's a pain because then for me, my problem has always been losing weight because I'm quite a tall person. So, and I have like quite a slim frame. So, I have to eat a lot of food to just maintain like a pretty healthy weight and work out a lot to keep healthy. Otherwise, I'll just have like, bone structural issues and stuff like that if I'm not focusing on my muscles.
Yeah.
And I've lost a fair amount of muscle mass from having to repair the rib, but I'm pretty okay with that because, muscle memory, like I'll go back to the gym and, I'll do it slowly and steadily. And by 2 months, I'll probably get like, 2 years worth back of the effort that I put in, pretty quickly.
Obviously, you have to go to the rec to like go to the vault and whatnot. Do you work out there at all?
Yeah, I tried. It's really annoying having to book.
Yeah. That's why I stopped. Like I'm number one. I'm afraid of the rec. I don't know. It's large. There's a lot of machines that I don't know how to use.
How are you afraid of the rec?
There are a lot of machines that I don't know how to use, and a lot of people staring at me, and I'm not there for it.
I think you'll bug Jack to help you out or something. Like,
I'll have Jack be my coach.
Just have Skylar could help you out. Skylar works out a lot there, so
I went in there once and couldn't find the locker room, and I just left. I was like, "We'll get him next time, boys." And I never went back, but I did get a membership to Crunch. It is what it is. It's not my favorite gym. I don't know. There's just a lot of like townies that go there too, and like I'll look up and see like old people staring at me.
Ooh.
I'm not here for it, but like, yeah, like Cameron said, like the booking, obviously I think in the fall that'll probably not be the case. I hope not, at least, because I would love to go to the rec.
I would hope it peels back a little bit more. I mean, because most of us are getting vaccines. I mean, you already know we're getting both of us are getting vaccines this week, right?
I already got my doses. I got my second dose on Thursday, and I had a fever for Thursday night and Friday. And then I left.
I forget, you were the week before. It was me and wow, I can't think of it. It's not Isaiah. It was who did we do last week? Oh, Hravik. Yeah, me and Hravik were 2 weeks ago, and then now I go on Tuesday to get mine. So hopefully you get yours soon, Cam, if you haven't already. I don't know if
yeah. I'm really waiting on what the Australian government says about vaccines.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm just seeing what they say. I think they're almost like close to a conclusion about what they're going to use personally, and that's probably going to be the vaccine that I use.
Yeah, absolutely. So have they started like heavy distribution over there, or they're just waiting for?
No, but I mean they're just chilling, really.
Yeah,
because there's no cases over there.
I was gonna say, yeah, there has to be like no cases essentially.
Yeah, it's because I think our lockdowns are really
efficient,
effective.
Probably.
Yeah, they work. I mean, the lockdowns here, like they're a bit of a joke compared to the lockdowns in Australia. Because Australia, it really felt like I couldn't do anything, and it was really hurting. Like it was really hurting everyone's like mental health and health overall.
Oh yeah.
Here it's like we're under like tier 3 restrictions, but like I walk past and like tier 3 restrictions would mean like everything's closing at like a certain time, and you can only order things through Uber Eats. Like you can't even dine in. But like you're allowed to dine in. Like the bar was like I remember walking down and I remember seeing this bar. I was like, man, can't wait for the lockdown to end to go to this bar. And I just walked down it recently and I saw it was absolutely packed with like this 20-30 person line. And I'm like, what the hell? Are we not in lockdown? Like what is going on?
Oh, Cam, my friend, welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America, where we love going to bars and we kind of don't care about those lines and stuff like that.
And that's not at all what we're saying, because there was a lot of time that like I spent obviously in quarantine, and I think there were a lot of angry people that were even more angry with other Americans who just were selfish.
Yeah,
because I think that's like one of the biggest differences is that people in Australia and people really in other places say, oh, there's a lockdown, we should listen to this so it goes away. And that's exactly what happened. So it's just a lot of anger and confusion. Just, we could talk about that for another 3 hours, I'm sure. Because 2020, ripped all of us with a new one pretty much.
Yeah, 2020 was, I mean, all things considered, it wasn't my worst year, but it wasn't like, it wasn't really a highlight. Funny thing is like, just as coronavirus was getting started, I had a Japan trip for about 10 days from like February 20th sometime to like March 3rd. And that was like when COVID really started spreading around. So we were starting to get scared if we were going to be stuck in Japan. I mean, if you're going to choose out of all the places to be stuck at, like Japan's not a bad place.
Not at all.
We would just be able to stay there. So that would have been fun, but it was definitely scary at the time, but I'm glad that we were just able to lock in that trip, because it was like with a bunch of like my really close friends back in Australia. It was really good that we're able to lock in that kind of like trip just before coronavirus started, because if I did not have that trip and for like the whole year I was not allowed to like really travel anywhere overseas, I would have just lost my mind really. Like I love traveling, and a lot of like my focus is just to travel to new places while I'm young, at least, and just explore the world.
I will say on this weekend trip that I just took, I have to agree with you 100%. Like if I could do what I want to do in esports fully remote, like I would happily buy one of those vans and convert it and just drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Even Southern Illinois was way more beautiful than I would have ever envisioned Illinois being.
Yeah.
Because it's compared to what we're used to.
Yeah, compared to what's outside of normal. Because when I first came here, I didn't really see much of the outside because I arrived in the middle of a snowstorm. So man. All I saw was the place was covered in snow. But a bunch of people like that Drew was friends with us. They wanted to go do a road trip, like an hour down south, I think, or west, to this like Mexican place that they used to go to because it's closer to their hometown. So we drove all the way there, and I was really excited because I was like, oh my God, this foreign country. Like when I think of America, like and the nature sites, I just think of these really like beautiful national parks, like Grand Canyon, Wyoming National Parks, like these massive like mountains with the lakefronts, with the lakefront houses.
Yeah, did you find those in Illinois?
I just saw a bunch of corn.
Saw a bunch of cows staring right back at you?
Yeah, corn, windmills.
Yep.
Dead trees in the winter. No snow as well, so
yeah, so the winters are brutal. I will not even lie.
It was definitely it was very disappointing because I was really excited. But I plan to over the summer because we have such a huge break, and I'm not going back to Australia during the summer break. I'm gonna get a car and drive around some places, at least places close by. Like I'll probably drive up to Chicago, take some photos of my grandfather of Blues Brothers scenes, and probably travel down to I don't think I'll go as far as something like Wyoming or like Washington, where like there's some really beautiful national parks, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find something cool. Just the mountain with the lakefront. If I'm able to get that picture, then I've achieved what I came here for. You know.
Oh yeah, you should.
Apart from winning collegiate, obviously.
You should honestly check out Southern Illinois. It's like we drove, I think, 4.5 hours, and like it was gorgeous. So like very cool rock formations. But yeah, no, I agree. While you are here in the U.S., you need to take advantage of this to travel. And you actually are surrounded by pretty good people. So if you have any questions, you need anything, any guides, I know that Terry and I would be very happy to help you.
Oh, thank you. I'll definitely ask.
Definitely.
Yeah, because local places.
Yeah, down there. I mean, I've been in Southern Illinois. I have family still in Southern Illinois, so I definitely go down like once in a while for that. And then I'm up here. I mean, I've been into 15 states now, I think, something like that. Yeah. So trying to knock those 50 states off. But yeah, we are at almost 4 minutes left, by the way. I have to give that. I normally give a 10-minute warning, but we're at 4-minute warning now. So I have really not much else because I actually want to talk about the OCE thing, which he did it himself. So I was like, great. I was hoping you would want to bring it up.
I was listening in on my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, like Discord is not loading, like booting up, like please don't. But yeah, no, it was really good. Really good to talk to you. Really good to learn some more about you. And I got nothing else either. Is there anything you wanted to ask us?
No, not really. I kind of said, I mean, the OC one thing I really wanted to say specifically, just because there's too many misconceptions about OCE. And obviously, if people who are watching this want to know more questions about OCE, just feel free to DM me and I'll tell you about how cursed our region is.
Shout out your Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, Nausicaa is my Twitter, at Nausicaa. Just follow me there. Post funny stuff sometimes.
Great content coming from that account.
Yeah.
I love to see it. I'll never forget, like, I didn't even know that you were on the League of Legends team. I think I had just followed you because I saw you retweeted something, Redbird Esports. And then I saw, like, my car, and I was like, what the? Is that my car? I was like, no way. It was pretty funny. All right. Well, yeah, it was definitely really good to have you on and to be able to talk to you. And
thanks for having me on.
Hope that you are able to explore and venture out a little bit this summer and, get back to the grind. I would, I know you guys want to win nationals just as much as everybody else wants to see it. So yeah,
we are going to absolutely destroy Maryville.
Not if, when.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I plan on doing trips this summer. I have a bunch of PTO I need to use, so I am down to do trips. My stuff all resets in July, so I need to use it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Glad to have you on and everything. It was good to actually like kind of talk to you more because I mean, I know the only time I talk to you is like. Literally, if I interview you after a game, that's it.
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it for us pretty much.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all so much for watching, tuning into this episode of The Bird Herd. It was so great to have you on, Cam. Until next time, we will see you later. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time on the Bird Herd.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one, guys.